So, I was recently patrolling the internet, or browsing for random tidbits, and I stumbled upon this post from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Reddit. Now, interestingly enough, Ghost from the Past 2 launches this week on May 6th, this coming Friday. And obviously, folks are excited for a variety of things, but amongst the chief things that people are very excited for are the ghost rares in this set. And because of all the hype that has been generated about this set, it got me thinking about the Pokemon TCG, and more importantly, our equivalent of the Ghost Rare, what is also known as the modern alternate art card. And so in today's video, I wanted to compare the two and really throw some numbers on screen that I hope tell a compelling, if not alarming, case about alternate arts and what they might actually signal for the Pokemon trading card game. But before we do, let's roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we talk about the alternate art cards. Now, alternate art cards are really cool Pokemon trading cards. They feature some of the best artwork in the TCG. They are oftentimes some of the most expensive cards, as I've recently covered on this channel, and how they parallel, but are perhaps being overly used to the detriment of the Pokemon TCG. Now, this is a case that I have visited slightly in the past, but today I wanted to take a more in-depth look at it. And what I actually wanted to show today, because it finally became apparent to me, is a actual real-life comparison from a different TCG that I believe is doing their quote-unquote best rarity better than the Pokemon TCG, and that is going to be Yu-Gi-Oh! And specifically their most recent expansion dropping this Friday, Ghost from the Past 2, and the use of the Ghost Rare. So in today's video, we'll break down what a Ghost Rare is, the history of Ghost Rares in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, and then finally how it applies to the use of alternate arts in the Pokemon TCG. So, if you're excited about today's video, definitely feel free to leave a like on the video down below. Of course, if you'd like, you can also join the Gengar Gang by subscribing in order to become part of our happy little community and to help support the channel. It is honestly the best and easiest way, and it helps me know that you guys enjoy analytic content, just like the channel name says it should be. But with all that said, as usual, links to the majority of the stuff shown on screen that isn't otherwise obviously, verifiable will be down below for your ease of reference. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, as I mentioned, Ghost from the Past 2 drops this Friday. Ghost from the Past 2 is going to be a collector-driven set, not dissimilar to a Hidden Fates or a Shining Fates type vibe, where it's going to be a very large, very collector-driven, collector-oriented set. Now, for folks who aren't familiar with what you're looking on screen, you're looking at what is known as a Ghost Rare. It's effectively a all-holographic card, but instead of doing, some of the stuff that we see here in the Pokemon TCG community, like texturing or alternate arts, what the Yu-Gi-Oh! Mechanic does is it basically gives a white hollow foil to the entire card. So what's cool is that it almost looks like a mirror. You can see right here where my screen is on one of these cards, and then of course some of these cards are very identifiable, like Dark Magician Girl and Blue Eyes White Dragon, and you can see that under the right light you see the full artwork, but they have a rainbow or prismatic effect over them. So, Ghost from the Past 2 is the predecessor to Ghost from the Past, which was a set that dropped in 2021, also to huge commercial success. And again, it's one of those things, I've seen it. I did buy a bunch of Ghost from the Past, but never cared to open it because I could never get my hands on enough. However, and I say this half jokingly, but I'm going to record every single opening of Ghost from the Past 2 that I get, and trust me, boxes are on the way. I'm going after that Dark Magician Girl. As many of you know, I do have like these weird random side collections, and one of them is Dark Magician Girls. I swear I'm not a waifu collector, so I do want to try to hunt that card and pull that card on a video for the channel. I think that'd be super cool, and obviously it'll give us something different to look to while we wait for Astral Radiance to come out. So, because I and many other people are very excited about these cards coming out, it got me thinking, what exactly is a ghost rare and how does it equate to the Pokemon TCG? Now, in order to do that, I started doing some research, and unsurprisingly, I went very far down the rabbit hole. So here, is an article that explains all the card rarities within Yu-Gi-Oh! But, upon reading this article, I realized that ghost rares are a very interesting item within the overall rarity of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Metagame, right? So first introduced in 2007, a ghost rare are amongst the rarest cards in the game, with the sets that do feature them only usually having one card appearing in the rarity. Ghost rare cards have shiny silver lettering for the card name, selective colors removed from the card image that give them a pale ghost-like appearance. So that's a general statement. Now, this article, which is dated, by the way, says that there are only 35 ghost rares. Now, I did some additional research, and what I found is that there are actually a little bit more. So currently, there are 40 ghost rares in the TCG as of the time I'm recording this video. That goes all the way back from 2007 all the way through Ghost of the Past 1, where these cards highlighted on screen are going to be the cards from 2021's Ghost from the Past set. So we know that there are 40 ghost rares that officially came out. There are also 6 gold ghost rares. These are just ghost rares that have a gold bordering instead. So if we assume that these 40 plus these 6 equal 46, then we know that the 46 plus the 9 equals 55 ghost rares in the entire history of the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, dating back all the way to 2007. Now, if I were to draw comparisons to the Pokemon TCG, I think there are 2 comparisons that jump out right away. Well, there are actually 3. The first is the easiest, the Rainbow Rare. If we're talking about it from a serious standpoint, the only thing that really kind of stands the foot here is the color scheme. So you can obviously tell just side by side that the cards have the same kind of color palette to them. And genuinely held under the right light, any ghost rare does have that almost rainbow effect to it because of that, paling that they do. However, all that said, rainbow rares do not even compare to the rarity of ghost rares in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. So then the next thing that bumped up to me was gold stars. Now, gold stars are an interesting conversation because obviously in the Pokemon TCG, we have 27 gold stars. 25 of them came from regular TCG sets, 2 of them came from Pop Series packs. They were released across 10 sets and roughly across 2.5 years worth of time. So in the grand scheme of things, they were very isolated in history. However, I do think the one parallel that we have with ghost rares is that they trace their lineage back all the way back to 2007. If you were going to ask me what vintage Pokemon cards from 2007 exist, ghost rares would likely come up in the conversation, as some EX sets, especially the later ones, were still being printed at the time. So interestingly enough, ghosts do share the same long tenure in their respective TCG that gold stars do. The only difference is that gold stars did not continue to be reprinted over a period of time. They were isolated just to the EX era, and then of course the Greninja Gold Star that came with the Celebrations ETB, if you count it as a real gold star. Now, the last and final comparison that I can possibly make, exhausting all my other options in terms of Pokemon's cards rarity, would be the alternate art, especially the modern alternate art. So, if we were to think about alternate arts, there are a couple of things that come to mind. The first thing I will say is that the argument I'm trying to make here, and the argument I have consistently and persistently made, is not that alternate art cards are bad. They are by far, hands down, some of the coolest artworks I have ever seen. They are some of the most awesome opportunities to really take a good look at a Pokemon from a different perspective, and I really, really think they are doing them well. So it's not that the alternate art cards themselves are bad. My argument, however, is that we are currently seeing a pattern of overuse for the alternate art And unfortunately, if this continues, we may see a very common pattern of overuse and overstimulation occur in the Pokemon TCG. Now, I believe that they started off this trend when they started off with Rainbow Rares, and then they overused Rainbow Rares to the point where there's no such thing as a secret rare card in a set anymore. And we'll take a look at 2 sets and compare them a little bit later on in this video, just so you can see that. My fear then is that because all the other secret rares are basically junk and the chase cards are usually alternate art cards, that as a result of this, what you're going to end up with is a slow creep. Hey, let's start with 5 or 6 cards, and then, we'll work our way up to, 10, 11, 12. And much like the same way Pokemon escalated to the point of overstimulation with Rainbow Rares, we're going to see the same exact thing take place, specifically with the alternate art cards. And I think that is in direct contrast to the restraint, relatively speaking, that something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Has shown, because aside from these 9 cards all dropping in one set, which by the way is meant to be both a throwback set and a ghost rare set, in total you're seeing less than 60 cards in a 15-year tenure, 2022 to 2007. You're only seeing 60 cards printed, and I'll get into the analytics a little bit later, but that is my main argument. Don't get me wrong, alternate art cards are so much fun to pull. I just hope they don't overdo it in the future and take what is special about these cards away, because now the only way to create hype in a set is going to be by dumping 16 alternate arts into a set. So, with that said, let's keep plowing through. Now, in order to kind of prove a few points about what it is I just said, if I go to TCG Player and I go ahead and I attempt to filter for, or I search rather, for alternate art in Pokemon, so I filtered for Pokemon right there, and then I move this fella back, what you'll see is that here are the different set names, right? So we know that there are 119 results for alternate art in Pokemon. We know that 58 of them are alternate art promos. So let's eliminate those, right? These are promo cards like this Jirachi or this Dedenne or this Rayquaza, all of which we know come from a variety of, random things, right? The 119 alternate arts minus the 58 promos that are known here, we're left with a total of 61 cards. So you might say, well, Ryan, that's not bad. There's only 61 of those. You just told us there are 55 ghost rares from Yu-Gi-Oh! What's the big deal? Well, bear with me. It gets worse. If we look at just the stuff that came out in 2021, so Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, and Fusion Strike, we're going to get 6 plus 9 is 15, 17 plus 13 is 30, and 30 plus 15 is 45. So in one calendar year, mind you, we're not even through 2022 yet, but in 2021 calendar's year, we had 45 alternate art cards printed across the Pokemon TCG sets. If the argument is that alternate art cards are the big chase cards nowadays, the question becomes, why are we printing so many of them? Because at this point, everything just gets an alternate art card. Now, if you look in a straightforward common sense type of approach, right? The first set that we know comes out is Battle Styles, and they get 6, right? So this is where they're starting off. They're saying, okay, well, we're not going to kill them crazy. I can actually filter this, and it's actually pretty cool because you can see here are the 6 cards on screen that you can see. The Urshifu's, Empoleon, and off screen is a Tyranitar. Then by the time we get to Chilling Reign, it goes up a bit. So now all of a sudden we go up to 13 alternate art cards, and I can move this right in screen. So now you can see you got the Calirexes, you've got VMAXs, you've got Vs, you've got the birds. So now all of a sudden you've got that many, right? You might think it's funny, but Evolving Skies has 17 alternate art cards in it alone. And here you can see all of them on screen. I already did the video on the Umbreon, which we obviously know is going to be a stupid expensive card, but that's not even ignoring the fact that Rayquaza is a $200 card by itself. So you might now say, okay, point proven, there are a lot of alternate art cards. Where do we go from here? Well, here is the problem. I think the mechanic is getting overused. I think over time, this is slowly going to replace the, rarities that we are going to see in the Pokemon TCG. Now, if you need an example of that, let's look to the history of Pokemon to give us a little bit of an answer. We ended up here on Evolving Skies. So let's look back at the first ever Sun and Moon era set, because we know here's when Rainbow Rares came out. Now, if I go to the Pokélector set list, you'll see it's 149 cards plus 14 secret rares. Of those 14 secret rares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards were Rainbow Rare cards back in the day. Bear in mind, this was the time when the Rainbow Rare cards premiered. So this was meant to be the peak rarity as well as the gold cards. So if you're looking at this, obviously you're getting 6 gold and 8 rainbow, and that was it. That was the total amount of secret rares that you got. Keep that number 14 in mind and keep that number 8 in mind, because by the time we get to Evolving Skies, you're looking at 34 secret rare cards in the set. So my point about the idea that secret rares are no longer secret is true, because the sets are getting bigger and they're just getting inundated with cards, most of which you don't pay attention to. Of the Rainbow Rare Pokemon and or trainer cards that exist, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, I'm not done yet, 16, literally double the amount of Rainbow Rare cards in the set than when we started off. And that's not even including the alternate art cards, which technically do fill secret rare spots as well. So what does that mean? Well, over the course of Sun and Moon to Evolving Skies, we've literally doubled the amount of Rainbow Rare cards that we'll get in sets, and that's just a pattern of escalation. And in a similar way, we are already seeing a situation where in Battle Styles we were getting 6, and now by the time we're at Evolving Skies we're getting 17. And I don't think those two data points should be considered in isolation of one another. In fact, I think the exact opposite is true. I think because we know for a fact that on average Pokemon sets are getting more and more secret rares, most of which people do not genuinely care about, what's happening is we're ending up in a situation where Pokemon is attempting to inundate sets with secret rare alternate art cards that can compensate for the lack of interest. And that's exactly what people are buying into right now. So right now, tons of folks are chasing these cards, driving prices high, and obviously creating an environment where they're very highly sought after. But at the same time, one has to ask the question, if all of your secret rares are basically to be ignored, perhaps the answer isn't to print more alternate arts. While they're tons of fun to pull, do bear in mind that there was a time in Pokemon's recent history where Cosmic Eclipse only had 4 alternate arts. Ditto Unified Minds, Team Up and Unbroken Bonds, 1 or 2. And these numbers may not be 100% complete because they might only have the cards that are listed for some of these older sets as opposed to the total amount of alternate art cards. But for something like Evolving Skies, which is relatively recent, obviously they have each and every single one of the cards here, and that poses a very interesting question. Are they overusing this mechanic? Now, for my last point in today's video, I did want to point out another interesting observation that I made, and that is that I mentioned the gold stars, and we know for a fact that there are 27 gold star cards that exist. 25 came from sets and 2 from Pop Series 5. Now, the interesting thing is that those are isolated to the history of Pokemon, right? They literally only exist in this one period of time. Obviously, we established that ghost rares date back to 2007, but literally this Friday we're getting 9 more cards from this particular rarity. Which leads me to another question. How many, cards are we reasonably gonna see for alternate arts in the future, right? Because we know they're very popular. So is there a way we can try to predict how many of these cards we might get? Well, just as an example, if you were curious, there are 12,456 official Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the game, 11,145 in the trading card game. That means that for the 55 ghost rares that exist, this is the percentage of cards that are ghost rares in the entirety of the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game. For Pokemon, the story becomes even weirder. There are 9,110 cards in the English sets as of right now. And mind you, this source is Wikipedia, so that might be subject to change. Let's round it down to 9,000 for the percentage's sake. But if we look at the total amount of secret rares we've seen just last year that are alternate arts compared to the total number of English TCG cards that exist, you begin to get my point. The percent tells a very interesting story, because what we're seeing is that Yu-Gi-Oh has done a very good job of keeping a very rare type of card, in fact, very rare. The problem is that for Pokemon, we're not doing that, because there are that many more alternate art cards that are getting the alternate art treatment. And again, my point here is not that we should stop alternate arts. I think they're great. I think they're fun. I think you should keep it to like 5 max, because the minute you start throwing 17 into a set, you begin relying on it to carry the set more than the cards in the actual set are doing. Instead of throwing more and more alternate arts, maybe we should just dedicate time to making really good original art cards and really good mechanics that don't involve literally just plastering an insane amount of color onto a secret rare and hoping people are attracted to it. Now, as a last point, I wanted to do a little bit more math. In order to do that, I'm literally just going to do some backhanded math calculations, right? In the calendar year 2021, we saw 45, here we go. We saw literally 45 alternate art cards that got printed, right? Now, Ghosts from the past, and particularly Ghost Rares in general of Yu-Gi-Oh! Have been around 15 years, 2007 to 2022. So if we multiply that, in 15 years' time, we will get 675 alternate art cards. At that point, this on-screen percentage is going to represent the total of cards over what I presume would be a reasonable estimate of how many Pokemon cards there will be at the point where this number is valid 15 years from now. Now, what does that mean? In my opinion, that percentage alone should indicate to us that Pokemon is leveraging the alternate art treatment too much. Again, the argument here is not that alternate art cards are bad, it's just that they're using it to carry sets too much. It's so much fun to pull them, but it's not fun when there's 17 of these things, all of which are getting an insanely small print run, and all of which are just going to be a huge pain in the neck to pull in order to inflate rarity and insist that there are cards in a set to pull. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. Let me know your thoughts on this topic down below. I actually took, fun fact, this is my second time recording this video because I didn't know what to say at first, and I really kind of had to go through it once in order to figure out what I wanted to get across as my main point. And my main point is the one I keep repeating in this video. They're overusing alternate art cards. The fact that we could project out using a very simple calculation and we end up with hundreds of alternate art cards in the future based on current patterns is not okay. I think we, and by we I mean they, Pokemon, need to really reevaluate what it is they're doing and what it is they hope to get out of the alternate art cards. Right now, everyone's having a blast because they're super fun and super pretty, yet at the same time, it's very hard to ignore the fact that many of them carry a significant premium, and honestly, sometimes they're more of a pain to acknowledge because you know for a fact that if a card or a set has really good alternate art cards, they're going to be very expensive and they're going to be a pain in the neck to pull. And I think we need to strike a balance between the two. You can't keep putting alternate arts in a card in order to insist that there are both cards that are really good in the set that you want to pull and a bunch of other cards that you can pull, because all that really does is ignore the fact that you already have a set that's bloated with a bunch of other secret rares. As we saw in Sun and Moon, there were literally 8 rainbow rare cards in the base set. By the time we get to Evolving Skies, that number has doubled. And the thing is that alternate art cards are not replacing those cards. They're literally doubling the amount of rainbow rares, and effectively most of those rainbow rares are worth very little to nothing. And the reason that is because all of the focus and attention gets placed onto the not 1, not 2, but 17 alternate art cards that are in a set. Sadly, I think what that makes for is a very convoluted thing that you have to collect, and not just one thing, but again, 17 things that you have to collect, many of which will carry a significant market premium. I think a lot of people are very excited, rightfully so, about these cards, but I think at the end of the day, it's important to maybe take a step back and ask ourselves, what are other hobbies, particularly Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I applaud for their general restraint around the ghost rare treatment, and really kind of showing that, hey, a rare card that dates back to basically the Gold Star era, by the way, can still exist today, still carry a really rare premium, and it doesn't have to be the only reason you go buy this set. For Yu-Gi-Oh! Collectors, there are tons of other cards in this set that they're very excited about, and then there's these cards as icing on the cake. But when you're looking at this set list, I can tell you what the cake is. I can tell you for a fact there is no icing, because the only icing is if you pull this card right here. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, definitely feel free to leave a like. And if you didn't, I mean, you know, you could still help me out in the algorithm by disliking the video too, that's fine. Anyways, definitely feel free to subscribe if you aren't already in order to join the Gengar Gang. Again, hope you enjoyed, hope you guys are doing well, and we will talk soon. Peace.